From Anshe Sfard Beth El Emeth Congregation, it's time to take 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Paro meets Yaakov, Parshat Vayigash, making it through. We have in our Parsha a most unusual opportunity, a summit of great world leaders, an opportunity for the head of the so-called Western world, perhaps, the Mesopotamian world, the Egyptian world, the sophisticated world of that day, Paro, the leader of Egypt, with Yaakov, Yisrael, Israel, the one who fought with the angels, a meeting of two great minds, two great figures, one a hero and a champion of civilization, as they knew it then, the other our hero, Yaakov, the one who rests on the throne of God, the throne, divine presence, rests with Jacob. He's a Merkavah l'Shekhinah, the one on whom the divine presence rests. What happened when we had this great encounter of the two leaders of the civilization and godliness? Unfortunately, the meeting is deeply disappointing. Paro has a question. Kama yemei shnei chayecha? How many are the days of your life? And Yaakov has a disappointing answer. The days of his life are 30 and 100. Very few and very bad. Ma'at v'ra'im. Hayu yemei shnei chayai. The days of his life were very few and bad. Lo isigu et yemei shnei chayai avotai yemei migureihem. They did not reach the days of his ancestors in their dwellings. This is the great encounter? This is the great summit of two great leaders, Paro meets Yaakov? What is going on? How could it be such a disappointing moment? Wasn't this the great moment for Yaakov to be Mekadesh Hashem, to sanctify God's name, to proclaim the essence of Judaism to the great leader of civilization at that time? What's going on? In fact, the Midrash criticizes Yaakov for this missed opportunity, and particularly for what he did say. As the Midrash says, Bisha'ah Shamar Yaakov, at the time when Yaakov said, Ma'at v'ra'im hayu shnei chayai avotai, that shnei chayai, that his days, were very bad and very few. The Holy One, blessed be He, said to him, Ani melataticha me'esav milavan. I saved you from Esav, from Lavan. V'echzarti lecha Dinah. I gave you back Dinah, who was absconded with. Gam Yosef, I gave you back Yosef, who was taken away. Vatam nitraem al chayecha. You're complaining about your life? Shema'at v'ra'im, that they're just few and very bad. Chayecha, I swear on your life. Shenimnim hatevot, that the words will be counted. Min vayomer Paro, from the very moment that Paro asked you that question, ad bimei migureihem, until the last of your words. We'll count those words. Kach yachsaru mishnotecha, so we will take away from your life. That your life were 33, there were 33 words, and 33 years less than Yitzchak, you will live. The Midrash is very disappointed with Yaakov for perhaps not saying anything very lofty or inspiring, and worse than that, complaining about the very life that God had granted him when there were so many great gifts that were given to him, despite his troubles and sorrows. But nonetheless, other medieval commentaries and Rishonim try to salvage this moment and explain in some sort of fashion. Rashbam says, well, look, he no doubt looked very old from all his years. And they said, wow, you look really old. Come on, how much? Whoa, says Ibn Kaspi, you really look old. Not that he wanted to know how old he was, he just said, wow, you look really old. And he said, no, I'm not really that old. I had such a difficult life. I look old, but I'm not that old. You've met people, Avraham in the past has come to Egypt, other people who are much older than I was. not really as old as you think. So that's what they say it means, but still, what's the deeper meaning? There's one of the Balei Tosfot, Moshe Zakenim. He says, well, perhaps the conversation went like this. So Yaakov said, it's very nice being here and I appreciate all you've done for my son, but, when the famine is over, I hope to go back. He says, look, sir, how old are you? You really think you're going to be heading back anytime soon? I mean, I don't know how much time you have left. So that's what he said. And Yaakov said, no, I'm really not as old as my ancestors. I have a lot of time left. Just I have a lot of difficult years. That's why I look so old. The Malbim tries to make sense out of this passage and says as follows. He says, he was saying something very meaningful. He said, I have 130 years, but let me tell you something. As far as Yemei Chayai, as far as the actual life that's considered life, not life that where I'm working too hard for Lavan, not life where I'm living without my son Yosef, but life that's life, that weren't too many years. And he's telling them that there's life and there's life. There's life that's difficult, there's life that has meaning, and there's life that doesn't have meaning. As far as the meaningful life, my ancestors had many beautiful years, meaning close with God. Modestly, Yaakov says, days of my life that were really life were not as much as it was like to have. There is a midrash that gives him a break and says, after all, he did have a very difficult life. He says he had to run away from Esav. He was in Lavan's house. He had to endure the frost at night, the difficult sun during the day. And in the land of Israel, Toraf Yosef, his son, was taken away. So he did have a very difficult life. We do have to admit that. But I'd like to take that a step further. And perhaps this gives some real deeper meaning to what it is that this summit was all about between Yaakov and Paro. What Yaakov was saying to him is, yes, I look really old. I look like I've had a difficult life. And you say, if you're such a holy man, what kind of mazel did you have? Comes Yaakov and turns to Paro and says, you know what I can boast of in life? That ma'at v'ra'im hayu shnei chayai. I had a very difficult life. I had a lot of challenges. I had problems with Lavan, I had problems with Esav, I had problems with Yosef, I had problems with my wives, I had problems with Reuven. But you know what? I made it through. Making it through is a great achievement. Just being that old and still being Yaakov, this is a great achievement. He doesn't need to say a word. He just comes to Paro and said, I've lived, I've endured with dignity, I've suffered with dignity. This is a great achievement. You don't have to build any great pyramids. What you need to do is you need to make it through. And sometimes just making it through ain't so easy. Sometimes just making it through is a great act of heroism. Just making it through something that Yaakov said to Paro. He explained to him what the real heroism in life is. Heroism in life is having a difficult hand that's dealt to you and making it through. Making it through is no small thing. Making it through can be an act of heroism. To survive with dignity, with faith, with love of God, with commitment to God, with God still living in your life and feeling Him close to you, despite all that transpired. That is a great, great achievement. The summit between Paro and Yaakov was not as disappointing perhaps as it looks. Yaakov conveyed a very important message to Paro, and that was that if we can make it through life with dignity and with faith, still remaining a person who's close with the angels, close with God, and struggling with it all, and making it through, that is a very important lesson. And with that, Yaakov conveys one of the most important lessons of Judaism, the lesson of endurance, and the lesson of true heroism, simply making it through. Thank you for joining us today at the Anshe Sfar Beth Elemeth congregation. I'd like to thank Jason Lefkowitz for making today's presentation possible. Feel free to email me at rabbijmf@gmail.com. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.